most of them have this, they feel that they're kind of frustrated, they're puzzled as to why they're not getting their fair share of replacement sales. I think that's probably the thing that we hear over and over again. Would you agree with that?
Agree. That's probably the thing we hear almost daily, and at least 4 or 5 times a day when we do hear it. And the problem with that, by the way, is it's always the problem is out there, right? It's always the low ball sellers in your area. It's always for some reason customers have become cheaper, whatever it is. The problem is always outside of themselves.
Without a doubt. I mean, again, the owners of the companies, they come to us and they all kind of fit into the same bucket, if you will. They have this level of frustration, right? So their comfort advisors are going out there on leads that they're spending, in some cases, a lot of money to get into the house, and they're coming back and they're hearing the same things from the comfort advisors over and over and over again. And Rob, I mean, you've heard it, haven't you?
Yeah. Yeah, and it kind of becomes one of those, you're in like an echo chamber, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where you hear it enough times, you start to think it, and then of course you go, "Hey, this has to be the reality, right?" The reality is, I got lowballers that I'm competing with. I got homeowners that are become cheapskates, right?
Mm-hmm.
All kinds of things have changed, in my marketplace, and I feel like, how do I get ahead and how do I win? And by the way, there's something else that you and I we talk about constantly, and some contractors don't even want to kind of face the reality about, hey, how equipped are you to compete in this current marketplace, right? Are you really like, hey, if I went out there right now, could I really have an effective business if I'm not prepared for all these things that we're talking about? And the answer is no, because every time we ask somebody the question, how do you deserve to win the business? And they kind of look at us like we got 3 heads, right? And I suspect some of that has to be with like, hey, if you got into the business 20 years ago, it was a lot easier. Okay, granted, but that's not the environment we're into today.
Well, it's, let's start off with what we're really talking about. This is about how to maintain and develop a winning HVAC sales team, with the emphasis on the word team. And I think a lot of guys guys and girl contractor owners, they don't understand that concept of this being really a team.
Right. One thing I always like, and I think you should share the story about when you had your HVAC place and you were bringing Rick into the business, and what would happen with your team when you brought him in, because I think they all can relate to that experience.
Well, yeah, my partner, the late Rick Hutcherson, for those of you that don't know, Rick was the guy behind Future University, which was the training arm of Contractors Success Group. So back in the early 90s, Rick created the first HVAC sales school for comfort advisors and for technicians. And I went through his class. It was the first sales class that I ever attended. I was still in college, and my dad had sent me. And it was a changing experience for me. And when I went back to my dad's company and started working, and I was trying to train the other comfort advisors and the technicians at the company, I would have Rick come in because I knew the value of having a outside resource, if you will, to come in to train my team. And inevitably, Rick would come in, and the week after and a couple weeks after that, sales would go through the roof, right? I mean, sales would go up. And of course, just like anything, Rob, what happened after a couple of weeks? What happened? The dust settled, right?
And they went back to their routine.
So it's really about this maintaining. It's not only the developing your team, but it's the maintaining of your team. Because I think a lot of times we get so caught up in that training is a one-time event, and it's not. It's an ongoing process. And again, if we're looking this as a team, because as you know me well enough, I love to use the sports analogies. It would be the equivalent of, well, okay, we trained our football team, but preseason we trained them. They're good to go. Let's play our 17 weeks of games and see what happens. And the reality is, if a team did that, if a coach did that with his or her football team, what would happen to their record for the season?
Oh, it'd be awful.
Yeah, it would be terrible. So, the reality is it's not about just developing the team, it's about maintaining the team. And so that's really what I want to talk about today is really both aspects of that, is developing the team and maintaining the team. If anybody is interested in talking with us more about how maybe we can help their company, the easiest thing to do is just go to our website, which is the hvcsalescoach.com/booking. You can schedule a time to talk with me, and we can see if we can help you in your needs to get your business to where you want it to go.